Let's push ahead until every cancer diagnosis is a story of survivorship. To learn more about breakthrough cancer care, visit Freighter.com/cancer.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and Ashley heard our radio ads over the years, and when it came time to buy their first home, clicked on the blue button. One of our senior loan consultants, Brad, sent them a credit-verified pre-approval the same day and then upgraded to a rock-solid, fully verified and guaranteed pre-approval shortly thereafter. They made a couple offers without success, and then Brad told them about Accunet's new property-specific pre-approval, where we might be able to include those magic words, no appraisal required. When they wrote their next offer, several $1,000s over asking to make sure someone else didn't end up sleeping in their dream home, their property-specific rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval included that most powerful phrase, no appraisal required, and the sellers picked Steve and Ashley's offer over several others. If you think all mortgage lenders and pre-approvals are the same, think again. Go with a local mortgage lender that has the tools and know-how to help you win and save money, too. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Artwork, especially original artwork, can be pricey. But when you take it in on consignment from nice people like you who are just ready to change the look of their home, you can price it right. And you'll find a lot of it at Design Exchange. Beautiful frame pieces by a number of notable artists. And new ones pop in all the time. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. In Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Now these tend to fly off the shelves. But don't worry, because our connection supplies us with a lot of them. Vintage ceiling tiles from once great old buildings in New York City that make for ultra-unique artwork. These items are definitely hard to find from anywhere else around here. So come take a look, and you'll probably find a treasure. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. In Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
The game is over. Your Bucks postgame show starts now. Welcome to Bucks Talk, insight, analysis, and your chance to sound off on the game you just heard. Now to break it all down, here's your host, Justin Garcia.
Well, I think tonight, coming into this game, your worst fears were confirmed and came to realization when you knew it was going to be a very game and agitated Golden State Warriors team, a motivated Warriors team who lost by more than 50 points their last time out there on the floor at the hands of the Boston Celtics. And that's the remarkable part is the Warriors won tonight by 35 points and yet still have a negative 17-point margin in their last two games. But I think the most remarkable part of this tonight was this wasn't like a lot of the Warriors Avalanche games where you would really point to Steph Curry's individual performance. Not to say Steph Curry wasn't good tonight. He was. Led all scorers with 29 points and a rather quiet 6 3-pointers made. But this one, in a lot of ways, felt like the performances that the Bucks got a couple of days ago against the Los Angeles Clippers in that comeback win, where it was just across the board. You think about the impact that Pat Beverly gave you for moments in that game, Bobby Portis and what he brought. And look, Bobby Portis was maybe the one thing keeping this from being a 30-point game in the first half. But it was just across the board. And I joked about it on the network broadcast, but Trace Jackson Davis now joins an exclusive club, which I believe is just he and Jonathan Isaac. It's the only players, at least in recent memory, to record 3 blocks on Giannis in a single game. But Trace Jackson Davis did that. He brought a lot of energy, rebounding, plays around the rim. Brandon Podziemski, again, with this Warriors team, a lot of Wisconsin ties. Brandon Podziemski had a big game. That's the misnomer about this Warriors team, too. They are not big. They are a small team. They still rebound very well. Now, part of that is long rebounds on missed threes, but they have guys, and the Bucks had this for years, too, when you think back to the Bucks' success these last 5+ years. They have a lot of guys that are good rebounding guards and good rebounders for their size. Gary Payton II. Brandon Podziemski is showing that capability so far this season as well. Steph Curry pulled down quite a bit of rebounds in this game. Everything went the way of the Golden State Warriors in this one, and that's the most discouraging part is you knew what to expect from the Warriors, and it felt like you still had no answer. There were stretches of this game where the Bucks really let things get away. I thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered, in the first half of not letting go of the rope and not letting what we saw the final score eventually become, not letting that happen sooner. But I think what you would really point to is the midpoint of the third quarter when everything was going the Bucks' way. They were playing with a different energy. They looked a lot better defensively. They were more locked in, more connected. They cleaned up a lot of the transition issues they had in the first half. They were causing turnovers and misses. And you knew the Warriors weren't going to shoot 60+% for the game. They still finished pretty close. But you knew those numbers would come down at least a little bit, and the Bucks took advantage of it. But once you got the margin down to 6, the Bucks' offense became an issue. And again, it's tough to make a full assessment of this group on that end of the floor until you get Chris Middleton back. And Doc Rivers talked a little bit about that before the game as well. We'll get into some of those comments. But it's just tough to make that assessment until this team is fully healthy and Chris Middleton is back. He's a huge part of that offense, especially the half-court offense. That's what struggled the most in this second half because you should have been fully back in the game. And as soon as it got down to 6, Warriors closed out the game spectacularly. Outscored you by 29 in those final 18 minutes. The Bucks only scored, 12 points in those final 18 minutes. A 41-12 run by the Warriors to close out the game in 18 minutes and just 9 points in the fourth quarter. I understand the last half of that quarter was what we would call garbage time, where you pulled your regulars and you were just emptying the bench. But 9 points in a quarter and 12 points over an 18-minute stretch is simply not good enough. So it's another area where you really desperately need Chris Middleton back on the floor. 855-616-1620 is the number to join us this morning on Bucks Talk as we continue to dig into the numbers after a very, very tough loss against the Golden State Warriors. And look, I said before the road trip began, we'll explore some of these comments as well. I said before the road trip began, these 4 teams, you do kind of match up pretty well with all 4 of these teams. And a day after saying that, the Bucks open up the road trip with a 35-point loss to one of those 4 teams. 855-616-1620, the number to join us. More after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
Only 11% of those trying to sell their own homes actually succeed. And of those that do sell their own home, they sell on average for 26% less than agented properties. This often negates the savings they were hoping to get by doing it on their own. So why do it on your own when you have an experienced realtor that will give you full service at only 3.5 to 3.9% commission? Don't let your home sit while others are selling faster and at potentially better than asking prices. Call Benefit Realty for a highly experienced agent, and you'll pay less for full service. In this seller's market, even homeowners are trying to sell their own home. But more times than not, it doesn't work out like they'd hoped. And while homes like theirs are selling, and selling fast for over asking prices, their homes aren't. So what's your next best strategy? Well, if you're looking to relieve yourself of the stress of selling your own home and still get top dollar while getting the full service benefits that an experienced realtor can give you, then look no further. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where 3.5 to 3.9% commission assures that you pay less for full service.
Your nose is for breathing. Your mouth is for eating. And if you're breathing through your mouth, it's not because your body wants to. It's because it has to, because your nose isn't working properly. And although you've lived like this, it's no way to live, and it's having a significant impact on your life. I know you know this, and I know that taking action isn't always convenient. But at Advent, we've done all we can to make changing your life for the better as easy as possible. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. With tens of thousands of our patients, a thorough breathing triangle evaluation, along with a simple 20-minute in-office procedure called balloon sinuplasty, has opened their nasal passages, allowing them to breathe freely through their nose for good. And there's a good chance this procedure can do the same for you. We'll help you breathe through your nose again, and it will change your life.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
Get the help you need Saturday morning with How To Radio. At 7, it's the WTMJ Fix-It Show with David Nason featuring this week's guests, Capital Heating and Cooling and Siding Unlimited. At 9, plan your dream vacation with the Fox World Travel Show. And at 10, get financial guidance during Money Talk. Contact Annex Wealth Management for an unbiased review of your investments at annexwealth.com. How To Radio, Saturday mornings on WTMJ. The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
Tough one tonight. Last night in San Francisco, the Bucks get blown out by the Warriors, 125-90 final score. And look, you knew one of these was bound to come sooner or later. I don't know about a 35-point loss. You know a loss, period, was going to come relatively soon. 6-game win streak. Pat Beverly joked with us. The goal was 10. Didn't quite get there. It's a Warriors team that's been playing a lot better, and that dates back to the end of January. And they're in one of those interesting spots. We mentioned the differences between the East and the West with those play-in tournament teams. You know, you look at those teams in the Western Conference play-in tournament, it's a lot different to be looking at those Eastern Conference teams where if you're the 1 seed, you look and you say, man, I wouldn't be opposed to the 9 or 10 seed getting through and winning, because right now the 9 seed is the Bulls, the 10 seed is the Atlanta Hawks. The Sixers and the Pacers are 7 and 8, and we mention this because at this moment, the Bucks are still the 2 seed. They're 41-22. The Cavaliers are 40-22. Now, there are some important caveats to throw out there. The loss column is the important thing to look at from this point forward. You can't get rid of losses. They're there. You can add wins, right? You can change the win total. You can't change the loss total. So we always look at the loss column. The Bucks and the Cavs are tied. They both have 22 losses. The Cavs are likely, I don't know if I should say likely, but there's a good chance the Cavs are going to end up winning the tiebreaker because of divisional record. Cavs have 2 games left. They're both against the Pacers. Bucks are going to finish with a 10-7 divisional record. The Cavs are 9-5, so you need the Cavs to lose both of those games against the Indiana Pacers to finish 9-7 in the Central, and you would win the head-to-head tiebreaker if these 2 teams finish tied. Now, what complicates things is the Cavaliers do have an easier schedule remaining than the Bucks. But the Cavaliers are starting to deal with quite a bit of injuries. I mentioned Donovan Mitchell had a PRP injection in his knee. The timeline they gave was he's going to miss the next 3 games. Tonight was the 2nd game. Friday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves is the 3rd game. I got to believe it's going to be more than 3 games if you have an injection into your knee. Also, last night they lost Evan Mobley, and it sounds like that's going to be some time with an ankle injury. So the injuries are starting to pile up for the Cavaliers. They do have a middle-of-the-pack schedule left in terms of all of the NBA. 13th overall. Bucks still have the most challenging schedule left in the East. The 3rd most difficult schedule left in all of basketball, behind only the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns. But you're now starting to see some of those teams who could potentially be first-round matchups for the Bucks moving up there closer towards that line where the Bucks are in terms of difficult remaining schedules. The Indiana Pacers have now the 7th most difficult remaining schedule, 3rd most difficult in the Eastern Conference. The Philadelphia 76ers, 4th most difficult remaining schedule in the East, 12th overall. Then you have the Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, just below the Cavaliers. But if you're the Bucks, this could be another year where you're getting one of those play-in tournament teams. Now, last year, you were the 1 seed, and I hesitate to say it's not a fortuitous spot to be in because you're still the 1 seed and you would have home court advantage throughout every round, or at least in the Eastern Conference in the postseason. But, that added wrinkle is you don't know who your opponent is until Friday night, and you play your first game on Sunday. If you are the 2 seed, you find out who you're playing, I believe, Wednesday, either Tuesday or Wednesday. Because, again, 7 plays 8. The winner of that game is the 7th seed. So right there, you know who you're playing, and you have close to a week to prepare. The Bucks were in the spot last year. You knew it's going to be one of these 4 teams. And as things start to advance, you see, okay, it's not going to be the Atlanta Hawks, who just won and got out of this. All right, so we can shift our focus to these teams, to the Toronto Raptors, the Miami Heat, to the Chicago Bulls. So one by one, you can start to pick those teams off. And even Friday night and Thursday, going into Friday, it's one of these 2 teams. So you're preparing for that. But you don't know for sure until Friday. That's the advantage you would have of finishing second versus first. Finishing third, April 14th, I believe it is, whenever the regular season ends. That night, okay, here's who we're going to be playing. For the 3 seed, we get the 6 seed. For the 4 seed, we get the 5 seed. I don't think the Bucks are going to drop down to 4 now because of what we just went through. You have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Knicks. You're already 4 games up in the loss column. You got 1 game left against the Knicks, too. You're basically 5 up in the loss column with that tiebreaker and a chance to push it even further with the head-to-head matchup. You have the head-to-head tiebreaker against the Miami Heat. You're 4 games up in the loss column on the Miami Heat. You have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Philadelphia 76ers. You're 5 up in the loss column on the Sixers. The one you don't have, or the 2, I should say, you don't have the tiebreakers on at this moment are the Cavaliers, and again, that could change depending on those 2 games the Cavs have against the Indiana Pacers, and the Orlando Magic. You have 2 games left again, so you don't have it yet. You could still win it. You could still lose it. But those are the interesting teams for the Bucks from here on out. We'll take a look at some of these projections. Playoff status has been fairly accurate. I know we referenced it quite a bit right around this time, moving towards the playoffs last year when we were all keeping an eye on, can the Bucks catch the Celtics? They did. Can they hold them off and get the 1 seed? We used playoff status for quite a bit of their projections. We'll take a look at what playoff status has here, the latest of where they think the Bucks will finish, and what that could potentially mean in terms of first-round matchups and your postseason path. We'll get into that conversation after this on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
The pain was so bad I could barely walk. And now after stem cell treatment, I run marathons.
Now this is an exaggeration, but I do hear about unbelievable miracle outcomes. And I have to ask, do you really believe them? If they were true, these biological treatments wouldn't even have to be advertised. Truth is, stem cell effectiveness is nowhere near 100%. It's expensive, and it doesn't last. At Rejuvenex, our FDA-approved pharmacological treatments ease inflammation and reduce pain. They're precisely administered to where your pain lives, and they work. Will the pain reduction last forever? No. But in some cases, relief has lasted as long as 24 months, and in most cases, insurance has paid for the treatments entirely. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, where we can alleviate your pain and rejuvenate your life.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Hi folks, this is Hank Albert, owner of BBC Lighting. With spring in the air, a young man's fancy turns to ceiling fans. And at BBC, he'll see all the best quality fans and their newest styles. The new fan electronics provide a great method of moving air, and with LED lights, they use less electricity than ever. We have fans in all sizes, from 24 to 96 inches wide, and their motors are warranted for life. At BBC, we advise you on the right fan for your needs, and our prices are the lowest. I guarantee it. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and on Saturday 10 to 4 and located at 20th and St. Paul Avenue across from Sobelman's and Bachman Furniture, all near the Potawatomi Casino. Stay safe and healthy, my friends.
Doesn't it seem like you never have anything to wear? That's why I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. Whether it's a designer top, jeans, an adorable skirt, or cute accessories, I always seem to find something I like. And at prices I love. Gently used women's clothing and accessories for far less than you thought possible. At St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
This is Bucks Talk.
All right, so at this very moment, the Bucks are still projected to be the 3 seed, slightly. And this is up to date after the games played tonight. These models still favor the Cavaliers to finish with the second-best record in the East, but just slightly. 44% chance of the 2 seed for the Cavs, 43% chance of the 2 seed for the Bucks. That is, though, the highest odds for any seed the Bucks have. 43% second seed, 34% third seed. It is now just a 15% chance that the Bucks would slide down below that 2-3 line. And for the group that was very concerned as we went into the All-Star break that now the Bucks are going to be in the play-in tournament, there is less than a 1% chance the Bucks will drop down to the 7th seed. But at this moment, the Celtics are going to be the 1 seed. But the numbers are still in the favor of the Cavaliers. This does not take injuries into account. And we just went through the players and the absences the Cavaliers are just dealing with now. And again, a very tough matchup that they have Friday against the Timberwolves. They got a game against the Suns a couple of days after that. So the most difficult stretch of games for the Cavaliers is really right now. But there's a very, very good chance, basically 80% odds, you're going to be either second or third. Same for the Cavaliers, although, again, it's not taking injuries into account. So I would be curious to see, after a couple of days, if we see the Orlando Magic start to move up more and more. Again, the Magic have an easy schedule. Just looking at overall strength of schedule left for all these teams, the Boston Celtics have the easiest schedule left. An opponent win percentage of 43% the rest of the way. The Orlando Magic, an easier schedule than the Bucks, easier schedule than the Cavs, easier schedule than the 76ers. All of these teams that you need to keep an eye on. Magic are 22nd in terms of most difficult schedule remaining. Miami Heat are another team we got to keep an eye on in terms of seeding. They have the 27th most difficult schedule left. But the numbers are starting to indicate, look, the Bucks are going to finish second or third. Now, if the season were to end today, you'd be the 2 seed. And again, you would get the winner of either the Philadelphia 76ers or the Indiana Pacers. Now, Joel Embiid is going to come back. Right? We heard the report a week ago that there is a lot of optimism Joel Embiid will be back before the playoffs. Probably late March, maybe early April. So he's going to get some games in before the postseason, and he will be on the floor for the postseason. That is one of the concerns for seeding, is keeping an eye. Last year it was, you really don't want to play the Miami Heat if you can avoid them. Now it's that still applies. They may not be as good as they were a season ago. They lost some key players. Max Strus is gone, right? But if you can avoid the Miami Heat, you certainly want to do that. Joel Embiid and the 76ers are in that category for me as well, even though they have struggled. Those struggles have been because they're playing without Joel Embiid. He has been a cheat code this season with the way he has played. He has been the best offensive player in the league. You get him back, you get him on the floor. That is not a first-round matchup any team, especially a high seed, wants to have. And there is a possibility of that. Again, if the season were to end today, you're playing either the 76ers or the Pacers. Pacers won 4 out of 5 games against you earlier this season. That was before a coaching change. That was when this team was experiencing quite a bit of issues, shall we say, with getting back in transition, how they defended, fast break points, transition baskets, all of that, connectivity on defense. They weren't at their best during those 5 games against the Indiana Pacers. It is a much different group since we've seen this team wrap up their regular season series with the Pacers in early January. I don't feel as strongly, and I think a lot of Bucks fans, even after you drop 4 out of 5 games against the Pacers, said, I still like our chances in the postseason. That applies, and I think even more so now. The Pacers have been a little bit of a different team. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't been quite as efficient. I think some injuries have played a factor in that as well, but the last month or so doesn't appear to be the same guy. The Bucks are certainly a different team. You would clearly want the Pacers, regardless of the 1 win in 5 matchups. You would clearly want the Indiana Pacers in that series. But that's the challenge of these final 5 to 6 weeks of the regular season is, you have no idea who it's going to be. In very many ways, it's like the Western Conference playoffs. When you look at how bunched up those teams are, the Magic, the Knicks, the Heat, the Sixers, and the Pacers, those teams, that represents 4 through 8 in the Eastern Conference. They are separated by 2 games in the loss column. So it could literally be any of those teams that you are facing in the first round of the postseason. With how much time is left and how many teams there are, it's not worth the exercise to rank, well, I'd rather play this team or this team or this team. But there's going to be some interesting things that come into play these final few weeks of the season. Again, you're in a good spot with a lot of these teams. You're in no danger of being caught by the Pacers or the 76ers. And at this point by the New York Knicks, I don't think, because of those tiebreakers. Cavaliers are certainly a different story. Health is starting to turn against them. The Orlando Magic, given their schedule and the fact that they have 2 games left against you, that is a different story as well. And I know I just said, look, it's not worth it at this point and early on to start to say I'd rather play this team than this team. But the interesting part is I think if you surveyed Bucks fans, it would probably be maybe unanimous if I told you those 4 teams, even more than that, those 6 teams essentially, because the Cavs and Magic are still open to this as well. The Cavs, the Magic, the Knicks, the Heat, the Sixers, the Pacers, those are your teams. Who's the team that you would want to play in the first round if you had your choice? I think it'd be close to unanimous. The Orlando Magic would be who most Bucks fans would cite. And there's a decent chance the Magic could finish 2nd or 3rd now, so that would potentially be your 2nd round opponent. So still a lot of work to be done, a lot of moving parts in the Eastern Conference. It wasn't fun what we saw tonight, but look, famous last words or not, I know I said before the road trip, I like the way the Bucks match up against all 4 of these teams. I still do, and I still like the way the Bucks match up against the remaining teams on this schedule. But tonight, once again, as if we needed any reminder of it, tonight once again just proved how much you need Chris Middleton back on the floor. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. We'll revisit some of those comments by Doc Rivers that he made before the game about Chris Middleton, about Giannis as well, who I think a lot of us were surprised to see Giannis back on the floor tonight. We'll get into that after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Nelnet Incorporated, the nation's largest, most respected student loan servicer, has document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems. Facilities Coordinator, Sunday Heidemann.
James Imaging has been a local provider for us for many years. They are reliable, they're responsible, and they take care of all of our printer needs.
Just what you'd expect from a 100% Wisconsin-owned and managed business technology company.
I think we get a great value with James Imaging with their service and the contracts that we have with them, that our cost stays low and we get the most for our money.
Sunday, what's the benefit for you with James Imaging Systems?
It makes my job more enjoyable that I can count on these people to do what they're trained to do, and I have no worries because I know I'm going to be taken care of.
James Imaging Systems. Call 262-781-7700. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Are you looking for the vehicle of your dreams? I'm Jim Token, president of Adam. The first step is to visit any Adam member dealership. New car inventories have really improved lately, but if they don't have exactly what you want, you can reserve a new vehicle that's on order, or you can have them order one specifically for you in your favorite color with every option you want. Either way, the process is simple. Find an Adam member dealer near you at adam.com. That's ADAMM.com.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hey, John Mercure here, host of Wisconsin's Afternoon News, to tell you about an exciting addition to Wisconsin's Afternoon News.
Hey, everybody, this is Julia Fellow, and I'll be joining John Mercure from 3 to 6 p.m. on Wisconsin's Afternoon News. I can't wait to be part of your afternoon drive.
For the trusted and relevant news you've always known, we will dig deep, look for answers, and bring you the latest with an in-depth look at what you need to know. This is Wisconsin's Afternoon News on 620 WTMJ.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
Well, a tough one for the Bucks in San Francisco. 35-point loss to the Golden State Warriors. A couple of big runs for the Warriors. That run late in the first quarter, mid to late in the first quarter. Up-tempo offense for both of these teams. Not surprising from the Warriors. But the way the Bucks were getting in transition and pushing the pace, we didn't see a lot of that. We have not seen a lot of that. And I think that's one of the misnomers with the Bucks is they're not an up-tempo team. And Doc Rivers has talked about that too with the pace that people have noted. Pace has fallen off a little bit for the Bucks. Doc Rivers talked about that before the Clippers game and said, I don't really focus on the pace. I just like to see the ball movement and the type of shots that we're creating. Damian Lillard isn't a high-paced player. He likes to play slow and get into his shots, and when that's the case, we're probably going to be a slower offense. Oh, by the way, it's the oldest team in the league, too. That factors into it. But the Bucks were uncharacteristically a fast-paced offense for the first 6 or 7 minutes in this game. Then the Warriors started going on a run and separate themselves, and, of course, the big one was what they did the final 18-plus minutes of the game, outscoring the Bucks 41-12. And most discouraging was that came immediately after you sliced it from 20-6 in less than 6 minutes. A 41-12 run by the Warriors after that to close out the game. I'm going to say it again. Chris Middleton's absence is what stood out the most in this game. When you look at offense to me was what lost this game. And look, the defense certainly needed to improve from the first half to the second half. You saw that in that stretch where you knocked the margin down to 6. Where it was lost was, and this is exactly what we talked about in the postseason the last couple of years, you can come up with stops. Your defense can be the best in the league, and you can get stop after stop after stop after stop. But sooner or later, that well is going to run dry, and you have to score. You can't win a game 0-0. You got to score at some point. And once the Bucks knocked the margin down to 6, they just couldn't execute. They could not score. You think about the turnovers and empty possessions that they had after that. So instead of going into the fourth quarter in a 2-possession game or even 3 and keeping it under double figures, it was right back up to 12. And then very, very early in the fourth quarter, it's up to 20. It would eventually grow to 35. You need Chris Middleton. You need him to help that half-court offense. You need him to help keep those bench units afloat as well. You've gotten good contributions from Pat Beverly, from Bobby Portis. You need somebody else there. I know Pat Beverly's an organizer. I know what he brings defensively. Chris Middleton has been the ultimate connector for this team, and that's what they were missing tonight. I thought it was very glaring. So hopefully we'll see Chris Middleton at some point on this road trip. We'll wrap up the show and preview what's up next Friday night in Los Angeles against the Lakers. We'll get to that after this on Bucks Talk.
This is Bucks Talk.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone. Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations. Brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp. And new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
So if you're already in a relationship with an auto service center, that's great. We hope things keep firing on all cylinders.
But if you're not in a relationship, why not book your next date with us at Richlands the next time you're due for service?
All of our locations are AAA approved and staffed by ASC certified technicians with PhDs in
We can fix anything!
Put that on top of the friendliest, hardest working staff you'll ever meet inside a tire and service center,
and you've got yourself a rock-solid date.
The next time you're due for factory scheduled maintenance,
or tires, brakes, and suspension service,
book your date at richlawns.com.
Or just Google us. But remember, Richlands is spelled with 2 N's.
And oh yeah, be safe, buckle up, and hey,
always make sure you have good tread on your tires. I'm Courtney Matchkey with Richlands, and you're due for a date.
Clever.
Richlands Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richlands.
Heart disease won't stop us. Diabetes, allergies, cancer. Nothing will keep the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network from pushing Wisconsin ahead. We're constantly raising the bar for medical excellence and providing more ways to receive it, so you have it for all your health needs, big and small. Let's push ahead, and we'll make life here as great as it can be. Visit Freighter.com to find out how.
The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
All right, the Bucks look to regroup Friday night in Los Angeles against the Lakers. It is their first of 2 games in L.A. It is an interesting stretch in the schedule as well, where you play 3 consecutive Friday nights, and all 3 of those are 9 p.m. tips. 9 p.m. Friday nights, 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and then another 9 p.m. tip on Tuesday in Sacramento against the Kings. The other thing of note is this. While it is a challenging schedule from here on out, again, 3rd most difficult in the NBA, toughest schedule of any team in the Eastern Conference, there are some potentially very important games on there. Those 2 that you have left against the Orlando Magic very late in the season. You are going to catch some breaks too. A Sunday afternoon, case in point, another game that is a back-to-back for the Clippers. Now, they play Saturday afternoon, so it's not a Saturday night into Sunday afternoon, but another back-to-back for the Clippers. You have 1 game left, 2 games left against the Boston Celtics, I should say, but that game in April, the Celtics are likely to have locked up home court advantage through the playoffs in all likelihood, but at least locked up the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and that's going to be a relatively meaningless game. It's late in the season. Who knows who's going to play for Boston? Potentially the same with that matchup you have late in the season against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the one thing you know, because those are still unknowns, and there's a lot of variables that determine those, what you do know is while your March schedule is challenging, 14 games, only one of those 14 is against the team that is outside of the top 10, outside of the postseason in their conference. You have quite a bit of off days. 3 separate instances of 2 days off between games. And again, you don't necessarily go through full-scale practices, but especially, as we just stressed, the importance of getting Chris Middleton back, of working on some of these things and reinstalling some things. Having 2 days off, and especially those that line up with home games, which 2 of those do, is going to be huge for this team. Friday night, another 9 o'clock tip. 8:30 is when our pregame coverage begins. And as always, be sure to stick around after the game for Bucks Talk. We'll talk to you once again Friday night.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Steve and